We are live. Hey, how's it going? It is your muscle building and fat loss coach, Lee Hayward here with another live video Q&A for Friday, July 18th. So the way these Q&As work is I'm going to be hanging out here answering your questions and topics of discussion related to fitness and nutrition, losing fat, building muscle, improving your athletic performance. Any specific questions or topics that you would like to discuss, feel free to type those into our chat window. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can type it into the live stream chat window there. If you're tuning in over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook page, then you can just type your questions into the comment section below the video, and they'll be popping up on my screen here. And I'll be able to address your questions and take them one at a time. So again, welcome to our live stream Q&A. And hopefully this is coming through loud and clear. I just want to make sure that it is. And well, yeah, Lee's saying it is coming through. Much appreciated, Lee. Thank you much. Robert saying it is coming through loud and clear. Got our regular guys joining in. Glad to see you joining in, gentlemen. And if you are brand new to our video chat, welcome. It's always nice to have new people joining in as well. So I'm just going to wait for a few more people to pop on to our stream here today. And one thing I wanted to address as well is we just recently finished up our Lose Your Gut Challenge. So we had that last week. We had the Lose Your Gut Challenge Summer Shred, and it went really well. I must say we had a lot of guys participating in that. That took place over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group. And the whole idea of the Lose Your Gut Challenge, for those of you who've been through it before, you obviously know what it is. Something I've done now for several years, but it's a challenge which is basically a 5-day intensive coaching program where we do a deep dive into the fundamentals of nutrition, specifically nutrition geared towards fat loss, hence the name Lose Your Gut, right? Lose Your Gut Challenge Summer Shred. And we really do a deep dive. And the thing is each day we take one element of nutrition and do a deep dive into it and break it down and then kind of stack the days on top of each other. So we build upon the habits and the tactics that we learn from day to day. And then at the end of that Lose Your Gut Challenge, we have a graduation workshop where we take all the concepts, all the things that we cover throughout that challenge, and I put it together into a step-by-step action plan that you can then follow after the Lose Your Gut Challenge is over to literally lose your gut, and more importantly, how you can sustain it while enjoying the process. Because one of the biggest problems I find when it comes to fat loss is a lot of people, they go to extremes. Like I'm going to fast, I'm going to cut my carbs, I'm going to go on some extreme calorie restriction. And sure, that can work in the short term. Don't get me wrong. It absolutely can work. But if you don't enjoy it and it's not something that you can sustain as a lifestyle, something that you can do day in, day out, week in, week out, year in, year out for the rest of your life, then the results are only temporary. So if your quote unquote fat loss diet is something that you have to suffer through, and it's like, oh, I can't wait for this to be over so I can go back to normal again, the results are only temporary. So if you want to lose your gut and keep it off, we need to create lasting lifestyle and nutrition changes, nutrition habit changes. And that's what we focus on in the Lose Your Gut Challenge. Now, the videos for that are still available if you haven't went through it, but you would like to check out the video lesson replays, because every single day during that Lose Your Gut Challenge, we did a live video coaching lesson covering the different topics. And the replays are still going to be available for the next week or so before Facebook deletes them, because that's the way Facebook does. When we do our live videos each day, they get saved there, but there's a deadline, and then Facebook deletes all those videos. So if you would like to follow along, then you can join us over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group and actually go back and check out those video replays, because I have them posted there for a short term now until Facebook deletes them. I think it's going to be like another week or so, and then they're going to be taken down. So if you would like to check that out, then that is available. All you have to do is join us over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group, and I have a link to that down in the show notes below, so you can check that out over there. All right, we have some more people popping on. We've got AJ joining in. Welcome. Thought you weren't going to live stream. Well, I do live stream. I'm here. It's Friday. We're going live at 5. All right, 5 p.m. Eastern time. That's what I usually do it every Friday here, unless something pops up, unless, my schedule changes or something happens. But more often than not, Friday, we go live at 5. We got David joining in as well. Welcome, David. David participated in the Lose Your Gut Challenge and actually came on board afterwards with the Muscle After 40 Blueprint program. So again, glad to have you joining in, David. Congrats on going through that, and congrats on being here. Awesome. All right. So again, for those of you who are just popping on, just want to welcome you to our live Q&A for Friday, July 18th. And the way these Q&A work is I'm going to be hanging out here answering questions and topics of discussion that you have related to fitness and nutrition, health and wellness. Any specific challenges you have, feel free to post those questions and topics of discussion into the chat window, and I'll do the best I can to help you out over the course of our video chats. All right. One thing I have to ask, I have a fan going on on my desk there because it's hot as you know what in here. We don't have AC in my house, right? Unfortunately. And it's currently like 27 degrees in my office right here now. So that fan is my only saving grace. 27 degrees Celsius, of course, for those Americans wondering, which is somewhere in the mid 80s. I don't know, which is hot for inside. But anyway, is that fan coming through on the audio? If it is, I'll turn it off. Because I know a while back I actually did I did a podcast with somebody, and we had a fan going on in the background, and I didn't realize it, but it was interfering with the audio. It really made it sound choppy, cutting in and out. So if anybody can, if you hear any weird noises or my audio is not coming through loud and clear, just let me know. All right, Robert's saying, all right, can't hear the fan. All right, well, that's good. Because I can feel the fan, and I want to feel that fan, or else I'm going to be sweating like a water be dripping off my forehead here if I don't have that going. All right, thanks. Just wanted to make sure. Because obviously when you're a talking head, the audio is the most important part of the live stream. I mean, if there's no audio, then it's not much point in doing this. All right, let's see who else we got joining in. Les is here. It says, Lee, my 3-day full body workout streak ended on Wednesday due to a long 10-hour workday and 3-hour drive to the airport. Exhausted from working out at night. I'll get back to it today. I'd have been harder on myself or written off the week if I were younger. Thanks for the advice. And that I'm glad you actually shared that, because a lot of times when people get into the fitness kick, right? Oh, I'm starting that workout. I'm starting that diet. I'm going to get my ass in gear and I'm going to get myself in shape. They have this all or nothing mentality, whereas like, okay, I'm all in, right? Like that's it. Perfect workout, perfect diet, perfect everything. Go, go, go. And then if something derails that so-called perfect program, then they're like, oh, I knew I couldn't do this. Screw it. And they go back to their old habits again. So in Les's case there, he mentioned, he was on a streak, right? Working out, on a consistent basis. And then, okay, he had to work late, long drive, tired, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you miss a workout. Big deal. Pick it up the next day. Like, it's not like your body, your muscles and everything else like have built-in calendars and clocks like to know, oh my goodness, he missed a day or he did it on a different day than normal. No, all they know is the stimulus and the rest and the recovery and the growth. Like, it doesn't matter. If you miss a day, big deal. Pick it up the next day. Even when it comes to your nutrition, I mean, you're bound to screw up, whether that's missing meals, whether that's eating stuff you're not supposed to, or just getting totally off the bandwagon. If you screw up, start again. Forgive, correct, continue, start again, and don't make a big deal of it. I'll give you another analogy to kind of really drive this point home. Think of someone trying to quit smoking cigarettes. Now, I'm willing to bet everybody knows somebody who's trying to quit smoking cigarettes, or maybe you yourself are trying to quit. And this is the typical way that most people try to quit. They say like, okay, they smoke. No, it's not good for me. No, I got to quit. But sooner or later, something happens. They finally say, you know what, that's it. I'm drawing the line in the sand. I'm going to quit. And they try and quit cold turkey. And they do. And however long that lasts, they'll just rely on willpower and grit and determination. And then however long it lasts. And then eventually, probably like in a moment of weakness or something like that, they cave and they give in and they have a cigarette. Maybe it's a few days, maybe it's a week, maybe it's a couple weeks, however long it is. But then eventually they cave, they had the cigarette, and they say, oh, I knew I couldn't quit smoking. Screw it. And then they go and they get another pack of cigarettes and they start smoking all over again, right back at it. And they'll stay stuck in that rut until finally they muster up enough motivation and willpower to try to quit again. Whereas if they, let's just say you're normally smoking a pack of cigarettes a day, and then you go all week not smoking a cigarette, and then in a moment of weakness, you cave and you give in and you smoke a cigarette. Instead of beating yourself up and saying, oh, I'm a failure, I gave in, I smoked a cigarette, you should actually say, you know what? I went a whole week, and instead of smoking a pack a day, I only smoked one cigarette. Like, that's a huge progress. That's a massive victory. Like, that deserves a pat on the back, a celebration. Hey, I'm going to keep going. So then you keep going again, and maybe you go another few days, or maybe you go a week, or however long. And then even if you do give in and have one, big deal. Like, it's still way better than it was before. It's progress. And we just need to focus on the progress, not getting hung up on this all or nothing perfection approach, because that all or nothing perfection approach is what holds so many people back, right? I mean, in that example of trying to quit smoking, I mean, it holds a lot of people back. If they just quit again, just resume where they left off, they could probably make a lot better progress over the long term than if they cave and just say, screw it, going back to my old habit again. Same when it comes to the fitness, right? If you miss a workout, who cares? Start again, pick it up for the next day. If you screw up and you miss a meal, right? Who cares? Start for your very next meal. Like, don't beat yourself up, and don't delay the start again process. That's another one. Like, right now, we're doing this video chat on a Friday. If you have a cheat meal today and you say, oh, I gave in, screw it, well, I'll start again on Monday. So then you're going to eat like crap all Friday. You're going to eat like crap all Saturday, and definitely going to eat like crap all Sunday, because you got to get those cravings out of your system, because diet's going to start on Monday. So instead of just taking one cheat meal, you ended up having a whole weekend of cheat meals and eat like a total pig. Whereas if you screw up and you have a cheat meal, big deal. Start again for your very next meal, or the very least, the very next day. Don't prolong it and say, oh, I got to start on Monday, because there's nothing magical about Monday. Just start for your next meal, right? Start for your next workout. The sooner you can get in the habit of starting again, the faster you're going to make progress. And that's how you're going to minimize the damage as well. And when it comes to fitness and nutrition, you can actually make more progress over the long term by minimizing damage than you can by having this so-called perfect program. Like, a lot of times we need to be in damage control. Like, we need to be playing the defense, right? Minimizing the damage. So instead of waiting until Monday and start for the very next meal, very next workout, start again as soon as possible. And the more you can minimize that damage, even catch yourself in the moment. Like, if you find yourself with your hand in the cookie jar, and a couple of those cookies ended up being digested and taken in, and you say, look, you know what? No, I'm going to stop myself right now in the moment. Put the cookie jar away and start again. Or if you find yourself in the container of ice cream or the bag of potato chips, first off, you shouldn't be having that stuff in the house, but let's assume it's there. All right. We'll go there later. But let's just assume you find yourself eating something you shouldn't, or drinking something you shouldn't, or what. Catch yourself in the moment. Don't say, oh, it's a write-off. I'll start again tomorrow, or I'll start again whenever. No, start again right now. Like, start in the moment. And I find myself doing that from time to time. Like, sometimes even when we're having meals, I might start overeating, like going back for second helpings. And I might say, you know what? I don't really need second helpings. I'm good. I'm going to stop here. Save the rest for leftovers. That could be a meal for another day. And catch yourself in the moment. And that is a way to minimize the damage. And the more often you can do that, the more often you're going to be staying ahead of the curve, and the better progress you're going to make over the long term. Right? But like, these are all tactics that we really did a deep dive in within the whole Lose Your Gut Challenge. So again, if you haven't already checked that out, I would highly recommend join us over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding group, and you can check out those video replays of the Lose Your Gut Challenge, all the live video coaching lessons, and of course we also have that graduation workshop up there as well. And if anybody would like that, because I did save the graduation workshop, if any of you would like to see that, after this video chat, just either drop me a message on Facebook Messenger, or if you're not using Facebook and you're anti-social media, send me an email, right? Email lee@leehayward.com and just say, hey, can you send me that workshop you talked about in your video chat? And I'll send you the replay so you can check it out. I mean, there's some really good content there that can help you with losing the gut, and more importantly, how to keep it off while enjoying the process. All right, what else we got? Let's see. We have Lee's got a question. Says, I'm going to listen to your latest episode of your podcast about TRT tomorrow when I'm at work. I'm on TRT myself, so it will be good to hear your thoughts on it. Yeah, for sure. And this was, I'm not going to spoiler alert, because I mean, you can listen to the podcast, but I do want to be a bit transparent. We talked more about other things, but we did start off the podcast talking about TRT and the truth about TRT and how, it can help, but it's not the magic bullet that a lot of people think it is. So I won't spoil it any more than that, but I'll just let you listen to it. But it's only like the first 20 minutes or so of the podcast about TRT, and the rest is about training, nutrition, mindset, strategies. Like, we go into a lot more detail. But the reason why I titled it the TRT one, because it's kind of a clickbaity title, because I know more people are going to click on it when it has the words TRT in it than if I had the words like meal prep strategies or fat loss strategies or whatever. Like, TRT is just like, it just gets a lot more attention, because you have people like yourself now who are utilizing TRT, doing it properly under doctor's supervision and getting prescribed by the doctor. Then you get some people who are self-diagnosing themselves and with TRT. And then, of course, you have the other people who are totally anti-TRT and say, like, oh, nobody should ever use it. It's all a crock of BS. And it really creates that controversy, which gets a lot of clicks. And so that's why I titled it the truth about TRT. But there's a lot more to that podcast than just TRT. So being transparent there. But yeah, check it out. I would love to hear your feedback about it afterwards. And for those of you who are wondering, that's up on YouTube now. It's also over on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, and most of the major podcast platforms. So I believe that was I'm not sure if it's 43 episodes so far of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding podcast. Now, I know as far as podcasts go, that's not a lot, but hey, it's still starting to build a library of content there, right? I'm looking forward to the point where we can get like 100+ episodes there of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding podcast. Let's see what else we got there. Emma's joined in. Been a few weeks. Good to see you. Glad to have you joining into our chats. Awesome. We've got Eagle Eye John joining in. Welcome, John. We have Neil joining, and I'm gone. See ya. I'm down here. Hello, Lee. Worked night shift Tuesday to Saturday for 4 years now, and is consistent about my workouts, sleep pattern, and food. Just wondering which is better, because I realize this now. I go off from my last shift 9 a.m. Saturday, sleep on 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. dinner, then sleep 10 p.m. or new suggestion, stay awake after shift, maybe coffee at 2 p.m. and until maybe 8 p.m. get my sleep. I'm lost. Hang on now. I got to read that again. Sorry, guys. I worked night shift Tuesday to Saturday for 4 years. And is consistent about my workouts, sleep pattern, and food. Just wondering which is better, because I realize this now. I go off from my last shift on 9 a.m. Saturday, sleep on 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., dinner, then sleep at stay awake after my shift or coffee at 2. I don't know what the question is. How can I answer that for you? Like, I don't know what works best for your schedule or when you feel the most energetic or what. I mean, I will share this. I'm not a huge fan of night shifts, and I don't envy anybody who is working a night shift. I mean, I know it's sometimes you got to do it, and I know you can sometimes make more money if you work a night shift because they tend to try and reward people for doing that. But it throws your whole rhythm off. I mean, you're total off kilter with the rest of the world, and it's not a fun shift. I know my wife did a night shift years ago. Like, she got offered a promotion and she was going to get a raise and yada 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 if she switched to working nights. And she, being young and naive, she said, "Oh, it's going to be great, right?" Tried it, and we hated it. I mean, I hated it because I was still trying to live a day shift while she was working a night shift, and it just throws your whole life, ass backwards, upside down. So I don't envy it for anybody. I mean, if there's possible that you could switch to a regular shift or find a job that gives you a regular shift, that would be such an advantage. I mean, such a step forward in terms of your quality of life, and would also help with your fitness progress as well. But with that being said, if you're stuck in this for now, you got to kind of make the best of it. And it's hard. And one thing that I would recommend for anybody working night shifts is try to get out of the idea of like breakfast has to be in the morning and dinner has to be in the evening, and thinking of breakfast foods and dinner foods and all this, and just think of your very next meal. Like, when you're planning your meals, make sure that you're getting a serving of protein, getting your veggies in, getting your good quality nutrition in there, and just focus on that instead of thinking, I got to have breakfast foods in the morning and I got to have night foods in the nighttime, and that. Just focus on getting that nutrition in you and doing so as consistently as you can. Because the common thing for a lot of people who work night shifts is they eat a lot of junk food. And even people in general, like when you're up late, I heard a quote from I can't remember who it was who told me this, but it was some fitness friend of mine or whatever. But it was a quote that nothing good gets eaten after 10 p.m. And it's very true most of the time, because if you're up after 10 p.m., are you looking for like lean protein and vegetables and healthy foods, or are you looking for junk food, fast food, munchy food, chips, cake, cookies, ice cream, fast food, drive-through crap? So nothing good gets eaten after 10 p.m. And very often people who work a lot of night shifts, they let their dietary habits go down the shitter, when they're working those night shifts, eating the junk food, eating the fast food, stuff like that. So really try and stick to your guns there and focus on nourishing the body on the cellular level, not just eating what's convenient or what feels good in the moment, right? What's going to feel good afterwards? Once that food is digested and absorbed, what's going to feel better then? Like the healthy, nutrient dense food, or the greasy fast food? So, but again, man, I really can't offer you suggestions there. You're going to have to try it yourself as far as, your different sleep schedules and stuff like that, and see where you feel your best. Right. Let's see what we got there. Adele's joining in here. Awesome. He said, "Do you drink alcohol, and can it be used in moderation as part of a healthy fitness program?" I remember Adele. He used to be part of our original Total Fitness Bodybuilding forum that I had years ago, like back before the days of social media and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. We had a Total Fitness Bodybuilding forum, and I remember he was one of the regulars there. But anyway, to answer your question, I personally do not drink alcohol, and not that I've ever had a problem with alcohol, but it's just something I don't enjoy. I never did. Even when I was younger, the only time I would ever drink was just because of peer pressure and to fit in socially, because it's like the social lubricant, if you will. Anytime you go somewhere, very often people gather over drink. It's just the way, like you go to a nightclub or a pub or wherever you go to a house party or a social get together, it's always over drinks, and people say, "Hey, have a beer, have a drink, have a something," right? So I would sometimes give in and just have it to be polite, if you will, because, well, people are offering it to me. But I never ever bought alcohol in my house. Like, never did. Just something I never ever got into. And I remember back in 2011, I was getting ready for a bodybuilding show. That was the last time I actually competed in bodybuilding before I took a hiatus and then made the comeback in the Masters, which wasn't even bodybuilding. It was classic physique that I made the comeback in the Masters category. But anyway, 2011 was the last year I competed in bodybuilding. And part of my contest prep was 6 months out from the show. I'd start my diet. And of course, one of the first things that gets cut out was alcohol. So I went 6 months without having a drink. And after the show was over, I said, you know what? I don't really miss it. Don't want it. I was at the after party after the contest. And of course, most people are slamming back booze at the after party along with food and drink, right? Like a typical celebration. And I said, you know what? I'm good. Like, I'm just gonna have water. I'm just gonna have a diet soda, something like that. Like, I don't want anything to drink. So I never had any alcohol at the after party. And I just said, you know what? I don't crave it. I don't want it. And I haven't had a drink since. I mean, that was 2011. So we're going on 14 years now. I haven't had a drink of alcohol, and I don't miss it. So, and I'm totally cool with that. And now, as far as peer pressure is concerned and all that stuff, I couldn't give a shit what anybody thinks. Like, if people think I'm not cool because I don't drink or whatever, or, oh, you're the stick in the mud, you know, goody two shoes, don't drink, don't smoke. Well, F you, right? Like, I do me. I'm looking after my health and fitness, and I don't care. You can do whatever you want to do with your health and fitness. So, like, when I was younger, that made a difference. Like, I cared what people thought. No, I don't want to be the stick in the mud, right? And all that. So I did give in and have a drink as the peer pressure situations and trying to fit in at parties and all this kind of stuff. And now I couldn't care less, right? I mean, the older you get, the less you care what other people think. And I'm starting to appreciate that more. But so I don't drink alcohol. I haven't drank in over 14 years and have no intentions of drinking. There's zero alcohol in this house, and that's the way I like it. But can it be used as part of a fitness program? We'll look at it this way. It's certainly not helping. Like, there's no health benefits to alcohol. I mean, and that's kind of been, that myth that, oh, drinking in moderation is healthy. Like, that's kind of been debunked. Like, that was just a crock of BS. There's no health benefits. Like, if someone's a non-drinker, nobody's going to say, well, you better start picking up drinking because it's good for you. Like, nobody's ever going to encourage a non-drinker to start drinking. And if you think alcohol is good for you, well, how come you don't give it to your kids, right? If you wouldn't give it to your kids, well, it's not good for you. So bottom line, no, it's not helping. Now, can you still do it in moderation and still get in shape? Yeah, I mean, a lot of people do. I mean, most people drink in moderation, quote unquote. Like, that's just the society norm. For whatever reason, we've normalized alcohol to the point where, like, recreational drugs and illegal drugs and stuff, that's kind of shunned on, taboo. But alcohol, like, hey, that's fine, even though there's probably just as many side effects from alcohol and probably even more health problems and more deaths caused from alcohol than recreational drugs and all that stuff combined. But we just normalize it as society. But again, getting back to your question there, can it be used in moderation? Yes, but I would really try and minimize the damage there the best you can. Because whenever you drink alcohol, it literally puts the brakes on fat burning. So, I mean, in addition to toxifying the liver and all the negative effects that way, but from a fat loss point of view, it puts the brakes on fat burning. So when you have alcohol in your system, you're not burning body fat. You're not even metabolizing the food you eat. Like, that all kind of gets put into storage mode until that alcohol gets broken down to zero blood alcohol. Then you can resume normal metabolic fat burning, calorie burning like you normally do. But alcohol takes priority over all that stuff. And it's a toxin. It's toxifying your body. So you got to find the way to find that happy medium. Now, I know some guys do make it work. And the less you do it, the better it is. So if you are going to drink, like, save it for that special occasion, the once in a blue moon, something along those lines. And even then, try and minimize the amount that you drink. And the less, the better, right? That's the simple answer there. Right? I mean, when I did drink, one of the strategies that I would use, because I didn't really enjoy it, first of all, and one of the strategies that I did was I would have, like, an alcoholic drink. Maybe, like, I'd have a light beer or something like that. That was kind of like my drink of choice for the most part. I was never into hard liquor or anything like that. But I'd have a drink, a beer or something. And then afterwards, I'd probably have like a diet soda, and then I'd have like a glass of water, and then I'd go and I'd have another beer. And I kind of went in that order. So beer, diet soda, water, beer, diet soda, water. And I always had a glass in my hand, but only 1 out of 3 contained any alcohol. And I found by having the glass in your hand, especially when you're in like a house party or social situation, that prevented people from, hey, have a drink, because I already got a drink. Thank you. So that was kind of my strategies. I always have a glass in my hand so people wouldn't pressure me. And I can remember even like getting to the point where like I didn't want to drink anymore, but I would keep my beer bottle and I would literally fill it up with water, with tap water, just so I'd have the bottle and I would sip it. And people say, oh, yeah, you're on the beer. Yeah, I'm on the beer. And I'd just be drinking literally water out of a beer bottle. I mean, it was kind of gross because you could still taste the remnants of the beer mixed with the water, but it minimized the damage, right? And all I was doing it for is to try and avoid the peer pressure of people trying to get me to drink. Whereas now I couldn't care less. But bottom line, the less you drink, the better, because it's certainly not going to help you when it comes to your fitness progress. But that strategy, beer, diet soda, water, beer, diet soda, water, that might help. And the thing you have to look at too when it comes to alcohol, why are you drinking? Like, are you drinking because you want to get drunk? You want to get the buzz on? And if that's the case, then, that is an issue, right? I mean, that's certainly not a big one. If you're drinking just to fit in socially, there's ways to make that work. Like nowadays, you could have the non-alcoholic beer. And if I go out to a social event, like sometimes I will actually do that. I'll have a non-alcoholic beer. I mean, heck, you pour it up in a frosty mug, people don't even know the difference. And a lot of people nowadays, they don't care anyway. But I mean, that's something I will have occasionally. But when I say occasionally, like I may one every 6 months or something like that. It's not a regular occurrence. Even the non-alcoholic ones are not a regular occurrence. But if you like the taste of a cold beer, and I know like a lot of people do, the non-alcoholic ones are an option. And that's something I recommend to a lot of my coaching students who, they just, hey, it's summertime, it's warm, we're hanging out on the deck, I just want to sip a cold beer. Well, hey, sip a cold non-alcoholic beer. Right, that's a great way to still bridge that gap. You're not even giving up the beer; you're just making a better beer choice. Right, so that's one that can certainly help. But you got to realize like what are you doing it for? If you're doing it for the buzz, then yeah, that there might be some deeper issues going on there as well. Who else we got joining in? We have Juju. Any tips to help hit your protein target in a day? Yeah, meal prepping. Meal prepping in advance is one of the best things you can do. Instead of just randomly hoping that I'm going to hit my protein, you plan it out. You plan out what you're going to have for breakfast. You plan out what you're going to have for your lunch and your dinner and on all your meals throughout the day, and plan it in advance and just calculate it out to make sure that you're getting your protein intake. If you're not getting enough through solid food, then that's where supplements can come into play, like protein powders and protein bars. They can help to top up your protein intake. But I'll give you a good target to shoot for. Like, I mean, let's say you're trying to hit 200 grams of protein a day, right? Which is for most guys, that's a reasonable number, especially if you're around 200 pounds body weight. 200 pounds of 200 grams of protein a day is a good target to shoot for. You could have 50 grams of protein 4 times a day. Boom, you just hit your totals for the day. So, I mean, with breakfast, one of the, like for me, like prime example, this morning I had egg whites with 2 whole eggs. I had some fat-free cheese with that. I had some spinach and chopped up veggies, and I made basically an egg white and egg cheese veggie omelet, right? I mean, so that was a good chunk of protein right there. For my lunch, I had chicken and salad, right? So that was a good chunk of protein there. I had, grilled chicken breasts chopped up, put into a large garden salad, and also put in some fat-free Greek yogurt in with the salad as well. For dinner, wife's cooking dinner. Not sure if we got fresh fish or what do we got there, or we might have some fresh fish for dinner. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to double check. But friends of ours actually gave us some fresh local codfish, and that's a favorite of mine as well. But bottom line, like a good target to shoot for is make sure you're getting a good serving of protein with each meal, and a general target. Like personally, I try to hit 50 grams of protein for each meal. So breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack before bed, boom, I got hit my targets, right? And you just got to plan it out in advance. Another thing that I would recommend too that makes it easier is when you're eating your meals, prioritize the protein first. So try and make sure that you're eating the protein early in the meal so that you're getting that in your system. And I'll give you an example. Like, let's just say you have like meat and rice and vegetables. Like, don't fill up on the rice first. Try and fill up on the meat and the vegetables first, and then have the rice afterwards. Right? Have your protein and your vegetables first, and then fill up on the carbohydrates afterwards. This will help to ensure that you do get the protein and the veggies in there. And it also naturally helps to curb the amount of carbohydrates you're eating, because if you're full of protein and veggies, there's less room for the carbohydrates. Whereas if you did the other way, you fill up on the carbohydrates, then there's less room for the protein and the veggies. And the protein and the veggies are the high nutrient dense foods that you need, right? The carbohydrates are kind of like the filler food. You eat that based on your energy demands, right? So that's a little strategy too. Meal timing, like how you eat your meals, not meal timing, meal order, right? Protein and veggies first, carbohydrates afterwards. If possible, that's a good way to do it. Let's see what else we got there. Let's jump in. Hunter saying, if I progressively overload in the 8 to 12 rep range, will that eventually improve my 1 to 5 rep max strength, or are they too different? No, if you get stronger in one rep range, it's going to carry over into the other rep range and vice versa. But if you really want to specialize, you still need to focus on that low rep work. But if you take someone that's you're currently bench pressing 100 pounds for sets of 10, and then you eventually over time you work that up to 200 pounds for sets of 10, your 1 rep max also went up. Like, it's inevitable. Like, if you get strong in 1 rep range, it's going to carry over into another rep range, and vice versa. If your 1 rep max goes up, then your repetition max will go up. Your bench for reps will go up as well. So it all carries over, right? Like, one is going to help the other. But if you really want to prioritize, like powerlifting, for example, that low rep power, you're going to have to train for it specifically, right? But you will get the carryover regardless, for sure. Right? This is where we can really, dial in the training depending on what it is you want to focus on, right? And this applies with other sports as well. Like, let's just take running, for example. Any type of running you do will make you a better runner, right? Like, if you run a 5K and you get better at running 5Ks, then indirectly that's also going to help you to be a better sprinter. And if you decide to run longer events, like say a half marathon or even a marathon, well, the fitness that you built from getting really good at 5Ks will indirectly carry over to that as well. But if you want to specialize in sprinting, or you want to specialize in running marathons, you're going to have to train accordingly. But realize it all has a carryover, right? It all helps. Let's see what else we got there. A deal saying, how can I encourage my wife to exercise and eat better? Unfortunately, she's obese and I've tried everything, but she's never consistent. We actually talked about this in the most recent episode of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding podcast. So if you want to go back and check that one out, I would highly recommend it. It's the one that's titled The Truth About TRT. But as I mentioned earlier on, we covered a lot more than just TRT. And this was actually one of the topics that we addressed, was how to motivate friends and family and other people. And the key concept that we talked about was you can't force somebody. Like, if somebody doesn't want to do something, you cannot crack the whip and force them to do it. I mean, that may work in the short term, but it's never going to last long term. They have to be self-motivated, and they have to have their own internal drive or something that is pushing them to want to change, right? You cannot want it more than they want it. And this is something that I struggle with as a coach, because I mean, that's my job, you know, as a fitness coach, trying to help people to improve their fitness. And I find a lot of times I want people to get in shape more than they want it for themselves. And if that's the case, it's not going to work. Like, you know, I can meet you halfway. Like, I can guide you, I can help you, I can lay out a proven action plan, I can help hold you accountable, and, you know, track your progress and guide you and help you to avoid mistakes and all that kind of stuff. And we can shortcut the process, but I can't do the work for you. Right. So, I mean, you can't want it more than somebody wants it for themselves. So, like, if your wife is just, I don't want to do this, you know, you can't force her. But what you can do is you can lead by example. Like, you can do you can get in your best shape, you can exercise, you can eat better, you can do all that stuff for yourself. And then hopefully she'll see the positive changes in you and then want to follow your lead. But that's not an instantaneous thing. Like, that's something that could literally take years. And we talked about that in the podcast. I know one of my coaching students, Mike Brown, like, he's been training now for 5 years consistently. And now his wife is starting to take on some of those habits and some of those things, like, and not to the same extent that he is by any stretch, but like, she's eating more protein. She's trying to improve her eating habits, you know, little things like that. Some of the other guys have noticed the same thing. Like, as they get in better shape, as they're taking their fitness seriously, as they're changing their eating habits, it has a trickle effect towards the family as well. But the problem is, a lot of people expect that instantaneous change. Like, it's not going to change as fast for somebody else as it changed for you. Right? It's going to be much slower, especially if they're not self-motivated and self-driven, right? But it can happen, right? But the bottom line is, focus on being the best version of yourself. And if that helps to inspire her, great. If it doesn't, then you really can't force it. And one of the things that we become like the people we associate with. So if you want to get better at something, you got to get around people who are doing the things that you want to do. And Jim Rohn, he was an old school personal development guru from back in the day. He had a great phrase saying that we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So if the people you associate with, your friends, your family, your neighbors, your coworkers, or if they're all overweight, there's a good likelihood that you're going to be overweight as well. Vice versa. If the people you associate with are fit and trim and athletic, or they're bodybuilders or they're gym goers, there's a high likelihood that you're going to be like that. Like people hang around like people. So fit people hang around fit people. Fat people hang around fat people. Musicians hang around musicians. You know, computer gamers hang around other computer gamers. Like, we hang around people who are like us. So if you want to start making a change for yourself, you got to get around people who are doing what you want to do at a higher level and have them pull you up, versus getting around people who are going to pull you down. And again, I don't know your wife. I don't know you personally, so I'm not making any judgments, but I'm just saying this as a general statement. If someone's overweight, there's a high likelihood that they have friends, family, relatives, coworkers, other people that they're very close to, that they spend a lot of time with, who are probably also overweight. And that's kind of like making that the new norm, because, hey, if everybody I hang around with are overweight, then it's not overweight anymore. This is now the new normal, right? So if you want to change the new normal, you got to get around people who are operating at a different level. Right? So, I mean, like, if the people you associate with are all fitness and gym enthusiasts and athletes, that becomes the new normal, right? And it's totally different dynamic. But then you'll have people pulling you and encouraging you to succeed in that area. Whereas if the ones you associate with are not into that, there's no peer pressure for someone to get in shape if everyone is sedentary and heavy set, right? So, you know, that has a big impact in you know, your long-term results. So that's why it's important to get around people who are doing what you want to do, right? So, I mean, in the case of your wife, if I'm just trying to think, like, I know my wife mentioned that one of her friends asked her if she wanted to join a yoga class. And I said, like, that's fantastic. I mean, heck yeah. Like if you can get around something, like it's not as intimidating as going to the gym and lifting weights, but you go to another class where it's all women, and they can go and do some yoga together, or they can do some these aerobics classes or something like that. Like it's less intimidating. They're around people, but it's still pulling them in the right direction. Sometimes we just need to get around people who can help encourage us that way, right? Whereas your wife sees you going to the gym and lifting weights, she's like, well, that's too big of a gap. Like I that's not even motivating. But maybe getting around other women who are doing like ladies fitness classes and group classes, and something that she feels is less intimidating, might be a step in the right direction, right? So that's something that you might want to try and encourage her to do, like look into something like that if she's interested in, right? I mean, you can kind of make the suggestion and encourage it, but again, you can't force it. See what else we got there. Neil saying, thanks for answering my question. Have a great weekend. Yeah, I mean, I know it wasn't the greatest answer, but hopefully you found it helpful, or at least got some food for thought there. Merwin saying, Lee, have you or your clients ever found it easier to cut during the winter but hard in the summer? I've seen it both ways. Sometimes people find it easier to quote unquote cut in the summer because in the summertime it's hot and you're not craving that warm comfort food, which sometimes you do in the winter. Like especially, in Canada, we get cold winters. And I've found like a lot of my clients, like in the wintertime, they crave that warm comfort food, something that's going to warm you up from the inside out. Whereas in the summertime, you're more likely to eat lighter foods, and like you might have like a salad or a smoothie or something that's light and not this heavy hot meal, if you will. I mean, of course, sometimes you're still going to have a normal home cooked meal, but especially for like breakfasts and lunches and things like that, like a lot of times people don't want to eat very heavy when it's warm out. Like maybe, hey, like I'll have a high protein blender smoothie for breakfast, and we have like a chicken salad for lunch, and just some fresh fruit or some light, easy to digest foods, but foods that are still very nourishing. And whereas in the winter times, like, oh, I want that warm, stick to your ribs, home cooked meal type stuff, right? So it can work both ways, right? And I think really what comes down to it is just finding what works for you, right? And just having the goal. Like, I mean, you can make it work. Like I've dieted in the summer, I've dieted in the winter. I mean, it's really up to you. I mean, it's if you have a goal in mind and you're motivated, you can make it work regardless. But I get back to your question. I have seen some people find it easier or harder depending on the season and the temperature, right? That does have an impact on your food choices and preferences. I personally think it's easier to cut in the summertime for those reasons. One, as I mentioned, like you can get more satisfaction with lighter foods, salads, smoothies, things like that, lighter meals. But it's also easier to get outside and be active, like get outside for walks and bike rides and hiking and swimming and kayaking and canoeing, or whatever your outdoor adventure stuff involves. It's a lot easier to get outside and enjoy that in the summertime than it is in the winter. Now, again, I'm not saying it can't be done in the winter, because you can still get out like snowshoeing and skiing and all that kind of stuff in the wintertime. But there's a bit more hassle to it, because like summertime, like, hey, t-shirt and shorts, haul on a pair of sneakers, you're out the door. Wintertime is like bundle up in layers and get your coat and your boots and your hat and your scarf and your mitts. And it's just a lot more hassle to get your ass out the door in the wintertime. And then, of course, I got to shovel the driveway. I got to clear off the car, and, in order to go somewhere, it's a lot more work. Whereas in the summertime, it's just haul on my sneakers and out the door, right? Very little prep required to get outside and enjoy the outdoors. So I personally find it easier to be active in the summer. And I find that that's helpful when it comes from a fat burning point of view, right? So I'm actually find it the opposite, right? I find it easier in the summer, and a little bit more challenging in the winter. But again, you can make it work regardless of the season. Deal saying, have you switched to more machines and cables over free weights as you got older? This is the case for me, as I feel it's safer. I have. Yeah, I'll be totally honest about that. I like the idea of powerlifting, heavy, low rep barbell lifts. That's not really of major interest to me anymore. Seeing how much I can 1 rep max bench, or like I have not done a 1 rep max bench press in, I honestly can't remember when. Like, I'm talking well over a decade. And so, yeah, as I've gotten older, I focus more on training the body and not just, abusing the body, if you will. Like, so I'm not in there pounding away the heavy weights like I did when I was training for powerlifting, or even in my ego lifting bodybuilding days. That's kind of a thing of the past, because I've had my share of injuries, and now I focus on longevity and being consistent. And if that, machines and, cable exercises and stuff like that makes it easier to do so. One thing that I've really gotten into in recent, over the last couple of years as well, is kettlebell work. Like, I really like the challenge of doing different kettlebell exercises, because I find they're good from a mobility and the technical side of things. Like, I like the technical side of the kettlebell exercises, like, the snatch and the clean and the press and the different types of swing variations and stuff like that. It's fun, it's challenging, and it works the body in unique movement patterns without beating the body up, right? Because with kettlebells, I tend to focus on more repetition work, multiple sets, and building in and learning the skill of strength. And that's actually a term that I heard from Pavel Tatsuli, who's kind of the godfather of kettlebell training, made it popular in North America. He always says, like, strength is a skill, and you want to, like, grease the groove and build the skill of strength. And I've been doing that with a lot of kettlebell work, but I do include more machine exercises in my workouts as well. And the main thing at this stage is working the muscle, not just getting hung up on the exercise. And, that's something that I've adapted. And I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. Like, you got to look at the big picture and what it is you're training for. Like, if someone wants to compete in powerlifting and that is a goal and a priority, then yeah, obviously you're going to need the heavy barbell lifts. Like, that is powerlifting. But if your goal is just general health and fitness, you don't need the heavy power lifts to achieve that. Right. So, you can adjust it according to what you're trying to achieve at this stage of the game. Right. For me now, I mean, I'm really serious into cycling. Like, I do cycling races. In fact, I got a race coming up on Sunday, another time trial race. And so that's my main focus in terms of my fitness goals. And then I kind of supplement that with the weight training in the gym and the mobility and all that kind of stuff. But my main focus, where I really want to see progression, and I'm actually making progress at this stage, is with the cycling. And I find it's a fun challenge, something I really enjoy. And I supplement that with the gym workouts. Whereas in the bodybuilding days and when I was powerlifting and stuff, it was the opposite. It was always the main focus was the strength training. And then I supplemented that with some cardio to help with cardiovascular fitness and fat loss. Whereas now the main focus is maximizing the cardiovascular fitness and supplementing that with the strength training. So that's the cool thing about fitness. Like, it's not just a one size fits all. Like, you can modify this and adjust it and have fun with it. And right now, I mean, I'm having fun with cycling. It's a new challenge. It's something I'm seeing progress with, and I really enjoy it. When I was younger, I really enjoyed the challenge of bodybuilding. And I mean, I did that. I did 15 shows. I also competed in powerlifting. So I got my satisfaction from that. And now I'm switched to competing in cycling, and I'm really enjoying that. And who knows, like, as that rides its wave, I mean, I might switch to something else. Who knows? I mean, I'm open-minded when it comes to that. Let's see what else we got there. We have Mark joining in. Say, thank you so much again for coming on the show. A lot of people got educated and they're excited. Thank you. Yeah, so I this morning actually did a live stream over on King Live 2025. Mark King has his own YouTube channel there where he's sharing his weight loss journey. And Mark and we did a podcast, so probably a couple months ago now. If you haven't checked that one out, it's there in the podcast lists over on YouTube. You can just open up the podcast tab and scroll down. But Mark has achieved quite an exceptional fat loss transformation. And I just want to kind of briefly highlight it here for those of you who are not familiar with who he is and who haven't listened to that podcast we did. Mark started his weight loss journey, or I should say he hit his rock bottom in the weight loss journey when he peaked out at 886 pounds. Yes, you're hearing that right. That's not an error. 886 pounds. Like, this is mega obese. And since then, he's, made massive lifestyle and dietary changes, but he's currently down to, as of his last weigh-in, 455 pounds, which is crazy. Like, that's, he said he's half the man he used to be, literally, right? So, I mean, he's made an amazing fat loss transformation. I mean, still got a long ways to go. I mean, heck, 455 pounds is still fat, right? Like, you're not pining away. We can't count his ribs yet. Like, he's still a heavy set man, but compared to 886 pounds, like, that is mind-boggling progress. And like I say, he's motivated and he's taking action and he's still making progress. So if you haven't done so and you want to hear an inspiring story, I would highly recommend you check that out. And it's in the list of the podcast. Just scroll through. You'll see. I can't remember the title of that podcast. I'm just doing a search here now. Something like My 886 Pound Life, Mark's Extreme Weight Loss Journey. That's the title of the podcast. Right. So again, you will see that if you just go scroll through the Total Fitness Bodybuilding podcast. And if you are going to check it out, I would recommend watching it on YouTube. I know it's available on like iTunes and Spotify and the audio versions, but watching the podcast, because we got some visuals there, really helps to drive it home. And personally, when I get into a podcast, I like watching it, the video, especially if they have visuals to go along with it, because it really gives you a better perspective than just listening to the audio alone. But I know some people like to listen to podcasts while they're driving or whatever. So, I make both options available. But if for that one, I would recommend checking out the video. We've got Worber joining in. It says, I can't seem to lose fat no matter what I do. I get bloated when I eat anything, literally. Would you recommend T3 or T4? Thank you. If you're getting bloated when you eat anything, literally, you might have some digestive issues that need to be addressed. Like, I don't know if you have any specific food intolerances or gut health issues, but that is something that you should definitely get checked out, and that's something we really need to break down. Like, you can't lose body fat no matter what you do. I'm going to be sarcastic here. Have you tried dieting and exercise for a prolonged period of time? Actually staying in a calorie deficit for months on end, not just for a day or two and then blowing the diet. And, I worked out for a week and then I stopped, and I dieted for a week and then I had a cheat meal. Like, have you actually been in a prolonged calorie deficit for weeks or months consistently over the long term? Most people, if they're brutally honest with themselves, haven't. Like, this is something I hear from like a lot of my coaching students. They say, oh, I tried, intermittent fasting. I tried cutting my carbs. I tried being in a calorie deficit. I tried it all. And then when we actually say, okay, like, let's take a look under the hood here. And then they be honest with themselves. They say, well, I diet from Monday to Thursday, but then Friday night rolls around and I just blow it. And then, of course, Friday, I blow the diet. I eat like a pig Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I start the diet again on Monday. Well, that's probably why you're not losing weight, because you're canceling out whatever progress you made over the week on the weekends. So we really need to figure out, like, what are you actually doing and where can we fix this? Because the numbers don't lie. Like, if you follow a true calorie deficit, then weight loss / fat loss is inevitable. It's almost the same as, like, managing your money. Like, if you're spending more money than you're earning, you're eventually going to go broke, right? If you're burning more calories than you're bringing in, and then eventually you're going to lose body fat. Like, I've never seen anybody say, you know, like, man, I'm spending $2,000 a week, but I only make $1,000 a week. But for some reason, I always got lots of money in the bank account, right? I just don't know what happens. It's just I got way too much money. I don't know what to do with it all, right? Even though I'm spending more than I earn. It doesn't happen that way. It's usually the opposite. Same when it comes to nutrition. Like, you can't escape the laws of thermodynamics, right? If somebody is truly in a calorie deficit and sustains that calorie deficit over the long term, weight loss is inevitable. So when people say they can't lose body fat no matter what they do, there's probably some things in there that could use some fixing. I mean, if you want, you can actually go check out the Lose Your Gut Challenge that I mentioned. Like, it's over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group. Link to it down in the show notes below. Right, you can check that out. Like, where we literally do a deep dive into all this. I mean, it's literally a 5-day intensive virtual coaching program where we cover the fundamentals of fitness and fat loss nutrition and how you can actually correct a lot of these mistakes that most people make who feel that I've tried everything, but nothing seems to work, right? Because that's what the Lose Your Gut Challenge is geared towards. And if that's something you're interested in, again, you can check it out. You can just search for Lee Hayward's Total Fitness Bodybuilding on Facebook, or you can drop me an email, lee@leehayward.com, and I'd be more than happy to send you the links through there. But as far as adding drugs to the list, I would not recommend drugs unless prescribed by a doctor, right? Just randomly throwing in thyroid medication, that's just going to shoot yourself in the foot, because then that's going to mess up your metabolism, your natural metabolism. I mean, unless you have a medical issue and you're prescribed like hormone replacement therapy, whether that's testosterone, thyroid hormone, insulin's hormone, any types of hormones or medications, unless it's prescribed by your doctor for a medical issue, I would not recommend self-diagnosing and self-administering drugs like that, because the risks ain't worth the reward, right? I mean, it might help in the short term, but it could mess things up long term, right? And then how do you regulate it, right? How do you know how much is enough unless you're getting ongoing blood work and testing your levels to make sure you're not too high or too low, right? It's really opening up a can of worms. I certainly wouldn't recommend that, because it might help while you're on it, but then as soon as you come off it, your metabolism would just crash. See what else we got there. Mike is joining in saying, Lee, how come I can lift heavy in the gym, but I struggle lifting something heavy at work or home? It's two totally different things, right? And that's a good observation, and it's something I'd like to just address. That there's a difference between working man strength and bodybuilder gym strength. Like, sometimes you'll see guys in the gym, like they're really muscular, great athletic physiques, and they're strong in the gym and they're strong with the exercises they do. But then you get them doing physical labor, whether that's, farm work, mechanic work, moving furniture, something like that. And they're not as good as people who do that for a living. Like, some of the most practical, strongest people I know are guys who do physical labor, like carpenters and mechanics and farmers and fishermen, and like people who are just doing good old-fashioned hard work with their hands day in, day out. Like, they build a type of strength that you're not going to duplicate that in the gym, right? It's a different kind of strength. It really is. And I got to experience that myself, because when I was younger, I mean, like, especially when I was at my peak in terms of strength and fitness, okay, I thought I was doing pretty good in the gym, but then when it came to like real world strength, like, I was getting crushed by working man guys, like guys who just did physical labor. And it is a different strength. Now, vice versa, you take someone who's a carpenter or a mechanic, or doing good old fashioned hard work outside, and then have them come in the gym and say, okay, let's see you bench press or squat or shoulder press or whatever. They're probably going to fumble and screw up at that, because that's an exercise and movement pattern that they're not used to, right? They're used to, lifting furniture or twisting wrenches or, cutting and sawing wood and stuff like that. I mean, like, that kind of work. But it's a different type of strength. And it really goes to show, like, your body becomes its function, meaning, like, if you prioritize one specific area of fitness, you're going to get good at that area of fitness. I'll give you another example. Like, this really it will drive this home too. Even in the world of endurance, like if we look at triathlon and triathletes, you will see some people who are amazing swimmers and then shitty cyclists. And someone might be an incredible runner and an okay swimmer or an okay cyclist or whatever. Like you will see, even though it's all endurance, it's all cardiovascular fitness, swimming, cycling, running, they're three totally different disciplines. And just because you're good at one doesn't mean you're going to be good at another. Like, you have to train and develop the skill for the specific discipline that you want to do. And prime example, like I do a lot of cycling, but if I go up against a swimmer, I'm going to get smoked. Like they're going to just leave me in their wake. Same with running. Like, even though I'm a respectable cyclist, I'm a shitty runner. Like I can't run like no good from a competitive point of view, useless. But I can hold my own on a bike. Whereas I know other guys, they're great runners, and they'll smoke me if we had a foot race, but I would smoke them in a cycling race. So even in those areas, when it comes to endurance, you will see the differences, and it's because of what you prioritize, what you train, and what you become good at. And of course, there are some genetic tendencies as well. Like some people are just genetically better built for running, or genetically better built for cycling or swimming or whatever. And the same when it comes to strength. Like even within the gym lifts themselves, like someone who's a really good deadlifter may not necessarily be a really good bench presser. Someone who's a really good squatter may not really be really good at another lift. Like, you will have the tendencies, like what your body structure and your leverages are more suited to. So yeah, you'll see differences in strength in different areas, right? And it's good that you're aware of that. And it just goes to show, because someone is strong in one area doesn't mean they're necessarily going to be strong in another, right? Like you could have a world-class powerlifter who's dominating the platform, and then have them compete in like a strongman competition where they're lifting stones and, heavy, awkward objects and doing all those crazy, truck pulls and all that kind of stuff. And they might be totally useless at that, but they are great at lifting a barbell, right? And then vice versa, you might have someone who's really good at strongman exercises and not as good as the barbell exercises, right? So strength is not universal across the board, right? You get strong at what you prioritize and what you're genetically suited to, right? That's something to be aware of. And once you find something you're good at, then if you want, you can prioritize it. Or if you want to try and work on your weaknesses, you can as well. And we see this in athletics. Like, people who are genetically suited to one specific sport or activity, they excel at it. Like, it wouldn't make much sense to take, a professional basketball player and say, okay, you're really good at basketball, but you know what? I think we're going to try and train you to be a good hockey player, right? Just for the hell of it, because we want you to be a well-rounded athlete. Like, the genetic structure and the skills needed to be a good basketball player are not necessarily the same as what needed to be a good hockey player or a good soccer player or whatever, right? You could take an elite level soccer player and have him try and hang with the NBA basketball players, and he's probably going to get smoked. Vice versa, you could have an elite level NBA basketball player and have him try and play ball with the best soccer players. He's probably going to get smoked. So it applies right across the board in all areas of sports and fitness. All right, what else we got there? I'm going to actually get ready to clue this up because we've been doing this for over an hour. I get the gift of gab when I get going sometimes. One last question, then we'll clue this up here. Have you ever done prolonged fasting? Do you think it has fat loss and health benefits? Yes, I have experimented with prolonged fasting. Now, not extreme, but the longest fast that I ever did was 4 days. 4 days without any food. And I learned a lot about my body and got to appreciate, like, fasting, assuming that you're not taxing your body, like, you can survive without food. Like, a lot of people think, oh my God, if I go a day without eating, I'm going to die or something. Like, no, your body can survive. Like, it's amazing how long you can actually go and still function without food. But is it optimal and is it good from a fat loss point of view? From a practical point of view, no. I'm not a big fan of prolonged fasting, because this is what happened with me. And for most people that I know who've done prolonged fasting, it's a very common thing. It's like a feast and famine type of thing. You know, it's a starve and a binge, because when you overcompensate, like you go on a prolonged fast, very often when that fast is over, you're going to overcompensate and end up eating more afterwards. And I think you'd just be better off maintaining a slight calorie deficit and sustaining that versus having a massive calorie deficit, like nothing. And then the tendency is to binge eat afterwards. And that's what happened to me when I did the prolonged fast. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what it was, but I lost 10 pounds or something like that in 4 days. Most of it's water and glycogen weight, of course. You know, you just depleted the body. But then as soon as I went back to eating, I put it all back on, and probably even a few pounds more. Right. So from a fat loss point of view, it didn't have any impact, because I ended up eating so damn much after the fast. I put on all that weight back on again. And my strength and energy and sleep was totally off kilter while I was fasting. Like, it's hard to sleep when you're fasting. It's hard to have stable energy when you're fasting. You know, like you're literally running on empty, and you're causing your body to kind of go into that survival mode where it's breaking down, you know, fats and trying to generate ketones and all that. I mean, it's kind of like a backup energy source, and it can serve to get you through, but it's not optimal. Like, glucose is your energy, your primary source of energy. Like, the brain runs on glucose. When you're training in the gym, you're burning up glucose. Like, that's your high octane fuel source. And if you're running on empty, you don't have any high octane fuel, right? Your body is just kind of like, bleh. You're just dragging your heels. No power, no energy, no sustainability there. So I'm not a huge fan of it. I mean, I'm really not. I have gone through phases of intermittent fasting and stuff like that. And while I did get initial results from it, long term, it didn't pan out the way that I hoped it would, right? And I find more consistent, frequent meals throughout the day works better for me. Now, better for me in terms of what I'm doing now. Again, as I mentioned before, I'm trying to improve my cycling strength and performance. Intermittent fasting or prolonged fasting is not going to help that, because if you try and perform at your best while running on empty, it ain't going to work. It's like trying to drive a high-performance sports car with no gas in the tank, right? It ain't going to run, right? You need to have fuel in the tank if you want to perform. Now, from someone who doesn't care about athletic performance and I just want to lose fat, and yeah, okay. I mean, maybe you can starve yourself and lose fat, but then the problem there is, can you starve yourself, lose the fat, and then not have that rebound binge eating phase afterwards, which is where most people, that's what they end up doing, right? Like, even with regular dieting, how often do you see people, they go on this, you know, calorie restricted diet for days, weeks, months, however long it is, and then in a moment of weakness, they go all whole hog and binge eat and gain all the weight back again, right? I'm willing to bet every single one of us listening to this has probably done some variation of that, or at least, you know, people who have, right? Lost a bunch of weight, binge ate, gained it all back again. Like, we need to find a way where you're not going on a diet, you're just making better choices so that there's a very slight deficit that you can actually sustain and enjoy. And again, that's stuff that we covered within the whole Lose Your Gut Challenge program, which still, the replays of that are still available if anybody would like to go check it out. All right, guys, I'm going to get ready to clue this up, right? And Emma's wanting a bicep shot, right? There's the bicep shot for you. There's the biceps. All right. But anyway, guys, I'm going to clue it up. Hopefully you got some value from today's video chat. I certainly enjoyed doing it. And we'll be back again now next Friday with another live at 5 Q&A here on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel, as well as the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook page. And in the meantime, if you have any questions or you want to elaborate on anything that was discussed, feel free to reach out to me. You can message me through Facebook Messenger and we can chat there. Or if you want, you can send me an email, lee@leehayward.com, and we can chat through email. In the meantime, have yourself a great weekend, and I'll talk to you next week. Take care. Over and out.